shares. We're getting started in just a minute here. Thanks everyone for your patience. Come on in, you can move forward if you want. There's some people out there. Come in, come in. Listen to other people when they're speaking. We ask everyone to be respectful. Please silence your cell phones when you're in the hearing room, and please take your conversations out into the foyer, just because we want everybody to be able to be heard. There's a lot of documents out there on the table. We have a community table back there on the right. If you want to put information back there from an organization or something that you want people to know. We have next to our registration table, we have an information table. We call it an action table, and there's a lot of handouts there and stuff. Again, welcome. Thank you so much for coming, and we're getting started in just a minute here.
Am I good to walk through like right here?
Hey, there's people out there. Wow, very cool. Started. Hi, everyone watching out there. Turn on the mic. Does that? Oh, wow. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Just kidding. Thanks, Suzanne. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out here tonight to speak on this very important issue in a public forum. My name is Cindy Ziff. I'm Executive Director of Clean Ocean, and I could not be more grateful to all of you, but I am as grateful, if more, to the Clean Ocean Action Team, the mighty, mighty team, the lean, green ocean pollution fighting machine that helped put all of this together. If they could all wave, or they've got their name tags on, and look for them. Yeah, give them a round of applause for sure. Who was speaking just a few moments ago is Andy Licata. She is our new Ocean Campaign Manager, so she is your go-to for all follow-up. If you want to get involved in Clean Ocean Action's program, by all means, please reach out to Annie. She's got cards, she's got everything, she's got a lot of info, and she'll be, coming back and forth in and out if you want to speak to her out there. And we have a lot of other folks out at the table. Just please introduce yourself to the Clean Ocean Action Team. We're all really excited for you to be here. So I have a couple slides here to go over with you really briefly to set to as an overview. Thank you, Kari. Wow. So this is the welcome portion. We're going to be going live in a little bit for the recording. So this is just an overview. Then we're going to, after the opening remarks, we're going to go on record, and that's when Kari will present an overview of what's being proposed. And then we're going to go over some guidelines for the public comments. Then we'll have the public comments, and then we'll have closing remarks. So that's the run of show for the evening. I do want to just say, going back to our original slide of what it is we were talking about today. So many of you may be aware there's a lot of offshore wind, and Kari is going to speak about this in a moment, but we're here today to focus on the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's release of their programmatic environmental impact study on some additional offshore wind areas off this coast, these waters, to the tune of about 488,000 acres. They call it the New York Bight area, B-I-G-H-T, which the word bight means an indentation in the coastal zone. But these areas, as you can see, are really off the Jersey shore a little bit more, right? It's closer to Jersey. And we really have always called this area the New Jersey-New York Bight because it is a shared waterway. BOEM did not provide, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, pronounced BOEM apparently, did not provide an opportunity for all of us to be seen, to be heard in a public forum in a traditional context. And so we felt very strongly that we wanted to provide people to come together to share their views, and to hold BOEM accountable. We are very, very concerned that the citizens whose livelihoods, whose quality of life, whose environment, will not face the deciders, right? The decision makers. And so we wanted to provide a public forum, and that's what we're doing here today. In addition, BOEM only provided us 45 days to read the 1,400-page document with a lot of other references and documents that need to be reviewed, so that's really not enough time. So again, we are also calling for an extension to the comment period. And all of this will be on the record, and any of your comments today will be submitted by the deadline, which is right now, February 26th. As we said, we hope that that will be extended, but right now it's February 26th, which very ironically is the 40th anniversary of Clean Ocean Action's launching. We were launched on February 26th. Yay, right? 40 years. So we cleaned up the ocean and we got it thriving, and now 40 years later we're facing massive industrialization again. So just again, these are the introductory remarks. We're gonna go on record in a few minutes. But I just want to emphasize that Clean Ocean Action is not opposed to the idea of offshore wind. We're opposed to the scope, scale, speed, and magnitude of what's being proposed out in the ocean right now, without the science, without due diligence, and without the lack of good governance, even a basic cost-benefit analysis that hasn't been done. So that's that's where we are, and so we are raising all of these issues and challenging the federal government. And in particular, one of the most significant is the lack of transparency and the difficulty we all have talking to the federal agencies, that they really do seem like we are talking to a brick wall, which is why BOEM is represented here today as a big brick wall. But fear not, all of us together can crack that wall if we all work together. So the next slide, sorry, I'm still on my case here. So we can skip that. I think we went over all that. So we're going to begin recording officially now. And I am very honored and delighted to turn it over to Kari Martin, our Ocean Advocacy Campaign Manager. She is phenomenal. She is amazing. She's been with Clean Ocean Action, started as an intern back in, we're not going to say the year, but quite some time ago. And she's just such an amazing ocean champion. And to give an overview of what this evening's discussion is about, I turn it over to Kari Martin.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Cindy, and thank you all for being here today. I'm the Ocean Advocacy Campaign Manager for Clean Ocean Action. I'm Kari Martin. Clean Ocean Action has been learning about and researching, monitoring, and participating in the development and environmental review process of offshore wind proposals and projects for over 15 years, almost 20 years. Our policy and advocacy teams have participated in countless meetings with federal and state officials discussing offshore wind, providing testimony and written comments on dozens of proposals, documents, permits, and authorization requests. So what I present today is the information directly shared by BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, regarding the offshore wind leases and plans, and specifically the programmatic environmental impact statement, the topic of tonight's meeting and hearing. First, to start off, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, is the lead federal agency on offshore wind development on the outer continental shelf of the United States. BOEM's mission is to, quote, manage development of the outer continental shelf and energy, mineral, and geological resources in an environmentally and an economically responsible way, end quote. BOEM is responsible for all OCS leasing policy and program development issues for oil, gas, and other marine minerals, but also for renewable energy. Per BOEM, I'll be using the acronym for the rest of the time. Per BOEM, there are many projects in various stages of development, including those that we're talking about tonight, and plans for more in the future. According to the National Marine Fisheries Service, another federal agency, quote, by 2030, the Northeast large marine ecosystem will be occupied by over 2.4 million acres of leases, 3,400 turbines, 10,000 miles of submarine cables, and with an additional 5 million acres also under consideration for future further development. This Department of Energy map on the screen shows 32 projects and lease areas off New England and New York, New Jersey, 16 projects directly off of New Jersey's coast. Projects and lease areas have already been sold and resold to different companies and investors, renamed or paused and even canceled or terminated. But the lease areas remain owned for the purposes of offshore wind development. The Department of Energy map here is from 2023, and it shows the increase in offshore wind activity and proposals in the mid and central Atlantic. That includes our area. Off New Jersey, we have those named on the screen that we'll go over a few of them tonight in the PEIS discussion. But also there have been lease sales in the central Atlantic area in the red area called the call areas on the map. These red areas indicate more possible offshore wind leases immediately to the south of New Jersey, and the comment period just closed on those recently. This area is the North Atlantic area off the East Coast. It's busy as well with projects proposed. There's many in various stages of development, whether pre-construction or construction. The most recent action is the identification of wind energy areas off of Maine, and those are the areas showed in red. There are offshore wind goals for federal and individual states, and to meet those goals, BOEM is managing the applications and proposals for offshore wind in all of these areas. As such, that's why we're here today, because BOEM had applications for offshore wind proposals off the coast of New Jersey, farther out in the New York, New Jersey Bight. This is the first time the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management is consolidating multiple offshore wind lease areas review into one programmatic environmental impact statement. The map shows here the applications and for those proposals. In January 2022, there was an auction held for these areas. In February 2022, the lease auction was held, which was about 488,000 acres, which went for $4.37 billion. In January 2024, the draft programmatic environmental impact statement was released after prior having a impact statement. This initiated period which ends on February 26th, which is next week, less than a week from now. BOEM held 5 in-person and virtual public meetings up and down areas of the coast. Promised to be posted on their website and made public. I have yet to see that posted. I checked within the past couple hours. The draft PEIS can be visited and seen using the link there. Specifically, I just want to address these areas. So on this slide, you can see the 6 areas, 488,000 acres. There are lease areas for, these are the names, Blue Point Wind, Attentive Energy, to Community Offshore Wind, Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind Bite, Leading Light Wind, or some call Invenergy Wind Offshore, and Vineyard Mid-Atlantic. New Jersey recently awarded their 3rd solicitation of offshore wind to 2 of those areas, Leading Light Wind and Attentive Energy 2. The Programmatic Environmental Impact Statement, or PEIS, presents environmental impacts of offshore wind development in these 6 areas. According to the PEIS, quote, for the analysis of 6 New York Bight projects, BOEM anticipates development of 1,103 wind turbines, 22 offshore substations, 44 offshore export cables totaling 1,772 miles, and 1,582 miles of interarray cables across the 6 New York Bight lease areas. And that's directly in the executive summary. You could take a look at that. But based on the table that is provided, the numbers show higher numbers in some aspects. That each lease area, they're basing their environmental review of these 6 lease areas. They base it on that each lease area will include up to 280 turbines each, turbine heights with up to 1,312 feet, up to 5 offshore substations in each area, up to 550 miles of interarray cables with up to 131 feet sea turbines each, and up to 9 high voltage export cables, length of up to 920 miles, with a seabed disturbance of up to 130 per cable. And that's for each of the 6 areas, so multiply those numbers by 6. The program environmental impact statement presents alternatives, including a no-action alternative of offshore wind development in these 6 areas. Which brings us here, why we're here tonight. We have the opportunity to share your thoughts on this programmatic environment impact statement. There are a few ways to present your comments directly to BOEM. One is here tonight, where you have the opportunity to speak on the record to BOEM with your own public comments, and they will be submitted as part of the record on time by the deadline of 11:59 p.m. on the 26th of February by Clean Ocean Action. You can also submit comments online to their regulations.gov outlet. Just follow instructions. Our action alert outside has some step-by-step instructions, and you can also upload your own written document to that system, so you don't have to type it all right there. And also you can do it by mail as well. It just has to be postmarked no later than the 26th of February. So those are your options for presenting and sharing your thoughts on this large document with a lot of information. And I would like to now pass it over to Cindy, who can go over some of the guidelines. Just want to say, if you'd like to get some more information and want to contact our policy and advocacy teams are here tonight, if you'd like to reach out to us. So without further ado, Cindy, if you are ready to go over some of the guidelines.
Oh. Awesome, Kari, thank you. How about that for Kari, right? Great overview. You guys have a better idea of what's happening. Well, thanks to Rose Willis for bringing this, because these are the 2 documents that you need to read in 45 days, comprehend, evaluate, and submit comments, because they really, really, really appreciate and want your public feedback. So let's give it to them. We're really looking forward to hearing from you today. But the scope scale is just massive, and I do want to emphasize that the reason they're doing this way, and it says right in the document, that it is so that they can expedite moving forward faster. By putting all these together in one document, then the companies that do move forward can say, oh, well, whatever that original document said, that's what we're doing. So it does say that they want to expedite, well, that they want to streamline and make it easier for the evaluation. So thank you, Rose, for bringing the document in for us, because it looks kind of cute there up in the screen, right, with a little square and but it is massive, and when you look at it online, it keeps going and going, but it is daunting, and that's why we hope that you will include a request for an extension comments in whatever you do submit. So we are really now getting into it. Kari, Next slide, thank you. So, silence all your, let's see, we're moving to, okay. Silence your cell phones if you haven't already. And as Annie said, take conversations into the back. We really want to get good conversation. We are streamlining this, so any noise could definitely kind of maybe interfere with the folks listening at home. Anyone that, hopefully everyone signed in, because we really want to get a count of how many people participated in the hearing. If you signed up to speak, you'll be called by, we were all given a number, starting with number 1, so we'll go through all of those, and, when your numbers are called or when you're getting close to your numbers, come up so that we're not wasting too much time going from the back of the room into the front of the room, you know the drill. As a special note, if we do get any elected officials, sometimes they're on a tight schedule, we may interrupt the lineup by number to allow them an opportunity to speak. So just keep a note on that. If you would like to support a statement, by all means clap. I mean, I've been to hearings where they say no clapping, but please if you agree with the position, certainly let your voices be heard. If you don't agree, mum's the word, silence. That speaks volumes as well. We don't want to get into any kind of a situation where people are disrespectful of someone's opinion. That's why these public hearings are held. So now we do really want to hear from you, and I just, let's see, I have a couple more things to say. Oh, when you come up, of course, state your name. If you want, you can give your city and town. State a group or affiliate that you're representing. Speak clearly into the microphone. We're going to give each of you about 5 minutes to share your thoughts, and we have a timer here, which will probably be a little bit annoying, but just so you can kind of pace yourself. And if we need to give you the hook, we'll do so politely, and hopefully you won't take offense. And again, Kari shared with you all the different ways that you can submit comments. So without further delay, we're going to start calling, the numbers. So numbers 1, 2, and 3, get ready. The first one is Jackie Walling. Here she comes.
Good evening.
Can you just spell your name and last name?
Jacqueline Walling, Jacqueline, Walling, Walling. I live in Brio. So good evening. This is my 6th public comment in the last 2 years regarding offshore wind. I come today to represent myself and my family. My husband's family goes back over 100 years as lobstermen in Port Monmouth and Belford area. Presently, we have members who are commercial fishermen, they're scallopers, and we have an oyster business in the Barnegat Bay. My husband and I are retired educators, but we have other family members in this business. But my husband and I have grown up on the ocean. We were ocean lifeguards. Our children grew up on the ocean. They were ocean lifeguards. And now our grandchildren are growing up on the ocean. One of our family members attended and was lead scientist on the necropsies for 2 of the whales that perished. I find it interesting right now when there isn't any sounding out there that, praise God, we haven't had any deaths. So I represent myself, but I happen to be a member of the Women's Club here in New Jersey, which is part of the largest federal and international organization of volunteer women in the world. And I have presented a resolution to the New Jersey Women's Club calling for a pause to projects and plans for offshore wind off the New Jersey and New York coast, which will be read at the state convention this May. I hope it'll go mid-Atlantic. We'll take one state at a time. I have stated in the 5 previous public comments regarding the impacts of offshore wind development, the noise, electromagnetic fields, navigational safety, habitat changes, wildlife behavioral changes, alterations to the food web, invasive species, pollution from increased vessel traffic, heat, turbidity from sediments, and onshore infrastructure. The ocean of New York and New Jersey experiences frequent strong storms and weather conditions, including nor'easters, hurricanes, and tropical storms that pose navigational risks and create potential for spills. When Congressman Chris Smith asked Director of BOEM, Liz Klein, about radar and interference and hurricane survivability, he was shocked she had no answers, and this is a quote from Congressman Chris Smith report sent in this newsletter. In my last Zoom public comment, I asked many questions. It took me 5.5 hours, but I finally got answers at the end of that. And one of the questions was, what are the impact of EMFs on species? They directed me to a specific page in which I read, and it said, EMF will affect all species of sharks, skates, electric eels, and the mating of flounder. And that was just one page, and there was way too much in a 1,400-page document to go on. I'm asking for more time, more study, as it seems the true cost-benefit analysis of offshore wind energy development and its extensive supporting infrastructure has not been conducted, whereas billions of taxpayer dollars, as well as other subsidies to underwrite. This industry has been committed or already invested in companies are demanding billions of additional taxpayer dollars. Offshore wind will increase our electrical bills. Why are other countries such as Sweden, and they have ended their offshore projects? There are cheaper, faster, and safer energy-wise solutions that could be implemented now on land while pilot studies determine how to conduct offshore wind energy development in an environmentally responsible manner. And I thank you, Cindy, and the Clean Ocean Action team, and God bless us. Thank you.
Number two.
Greg Covenant.
My name is Gregory Cudnick, C-U-D-N-I-K. I'm from Long Beach Island, town of Ship Bottom. I'm a recreational angler, bait and tackle shop owner, Fisherman's Headquarters. Also, I'm on the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council Advisory Board for offshore wind. In regards to this debacle, I've attended far too many meetings, but I'm happy to finally be here at a true hearing. Thank you, Cindy, Clean Ocean Action. So first and foremost, there must be an extension of this deadline. The speed of development is outpacing the speed of science and the needs of the sea. Top scientists are and have been working on these topics and acknowledge vital data gaps with regards to potential impacts. There's so many massive topics here, however, I'll stay in my lane and just talk with regards to the fisheries and fishing. The offshore waters of the New York Bight have long supported populations of coastal fisheries, fishery resources, highly migratory species, and many fisheries that target them, serving as a migratory corridor for numerous coastal fisheries, as well as highly migratory species. New York Bight is an ecologically important area and also contains essential fish habitat. It's water substrate necessary for spawning, feeding, and growth and maturity. For many economically important species, as well as a handful of endangered and critically endangered species. I'm not going to go into the weeds with the different species and whatnot, but can talk more about that later. One of the main topics here, basically I wanted to bring to the forefront is the recreational fishing contributions. The New York Bight also contains historical fishing grounds for iconic species and supports an extensive high migratory species fishery with thousands, as far as New Jersey and New York together, private boat high migratory species permits, that's 6,927. And if you want to include charter and head boats, the total comes to 7,779. That's based on NOAA 2022 HMS SAFE reports. The vessels participate each year. So you can see there's a large amount of participation effort here in the New York Bight in terms of recreational fishing. The 2021 Recreation Angler Survey in New Jersey and New York, contributions to the economic output to the GDP is $4.2 billion. It supports 28,290 jobs. That's from Southwick's 2021. I've got all these, all my references cited here in the last page. Just imagine what these updated numbers would look like right now, with the current state of inflation. A large portion of the recreational fishing effort occurs within popular fishing areas that have been leased out for offshore wind development. The diversity of these rich fisheries and the threat from offshore wind development impacts are not bounded by leased area borders. The socioeconomic impact, OCS, offshore wind development on fisheries in the U.S. Atlantic predates the New York Bight lease. So that socioeconomic impact, that's a document, a pretty heavy one. That I believe is 2017, but it's on the last page here. That's far before these New York Bight leases came out, so I believe that needs to be re-looked at, hashed through, call it. Therefore, the economic impacts, as well as a cumulative analysis of the impacts to fisheries, must be completed for the entire region. There must also be a comprehensive assessment of baseline recreational fishing effort for both coastal and also highly migratory species within the New York Bight and the associated wind energy lease areas. At the recent New York Bight BOEM meeting on Toms River, I reviewed the recreational fishing handouts and posters. That's basically in 3.6.1, page 39. And I questioned the subject matter expert, Brandon Jensen, fisheries biologist at BOEM, why the recreational industry, which I'm a part of, is largely left out in section 3.6. If you take a look at 3.6.1-39, based on National Marine Fisheries Service data, there is no substantial for hire recreational fishing activity in any of the 6 lease areas. That's word for word quote. Couldn't be further from the truth. The fishing hotspots that I know as the Reeser, Atlantic Princess, Chicken Canyon, Triple Rex, Corvallis, the Star, the 20, 30, 40 fathom curve are just a few amongst the same area that are fished regularly. Large fleets, sometimes 50 to 100 plus recreational private vessels, are congregated there in small areas while tuna fishing in the summer times. I can agree somewhat with the other statement that the most impacted species includes cod in the lease area 544 and also bluefin tuna, red hake, and sea bass in lease area 538. However, the chart 3.6.1-39 poorly represents the recreational fishing effort with a long history in Mid-Atlantic Bight, and specifically in the leases areas. There's significantly more effort at the hot spots mentioned above, as well as the Barnegat Ridge, which is also a fishing hotspot, which happens to actually be painted in this particular graphic or this chart. There are major data gaps that the PEIS must consider. Recreational fishing catch and effort data is severely lacking, and there's little to no spatial data collected for recreational private boats. MRIP, which is Marine Recreational Information Program, through Angler Access Point Intercept Surveys, I think I might have said that backwards, but it's APAIS, which collects catch per trip data, do not record specific fishing spots or location data. The only location is the location of the intercept of that report and the general area where the anglers were fishing, such as shore, private, or for hire. NOAA's own study finds their estimates are way off and their program needs overhauling. The state and feds largely do not know exactly where private anglers are fishing and do not know where these same boats transit unless monitoring AIS, which not the majority of the private fleet have. I guess I only have a little bit more time here, but I'll dive into my second topic, which is negative effects due to reef effect. It's basically production versus aggregation. Hopefully I'm not boring anybody with fishing talk, but despite what Anglers for Offshore Wind promotes, the majority of the recreational fishing community does not support offshore wind. Many of the anglers I've talked to have major concerns. Not all marine life flourishes in a hard bottom ecosystem, and it does not necessarily help New Jersey fishermen. It brings a lot of uncertainties to the table, and many of which management has no handle on. Offshore wind is not a magical solution to help the fisheries, and I'm concerned that the turbines are offshore fish attracting devices that aggregate fish, which greatly increase fish catchability. This is stated in 3.6.1 as a benefit to the for hire recreational fisheries. However, it is largely an issue that fishery managers must understand and properly manage. The fish that come from other fishing grounds are then concentrated and will be easier and quicker to catch, leading to localized and regional depletion. Overfishing can happen fast, resulting in a closure of the fishery, and then economic hardship follows. Or effort is turned to another species, which stresses another fishery. It's kind of a dominoes effect. Some fisheries could, this is a quote, some fisheries could experience substantial disruptions indefinitely, even with the implementation of the AMMM, which for anybody who doesn't know, read these thick books with a lot of acronyms. It's avoidance, minimization, mitigation, and monitoring measures. Speakers before, sorry I forgot your name, spoke about EMF. New York Bight is in the middle of the 20, 30, 40 fathom midshore offshore fishing grounds, which is some of the most productive fishing grounds and home to a number of prominent historic wreck sites. The area sand ridges are also home to abundant colonies of sand lance, and I find them to be a quintessential link in the food web. They're not only forage to ground fish species, but also pelagic species, also whales and seabirds. Anyone who has fished these waters in the summertime knows that it's just about better than a SeaWorld show. There's a document here, which I have a link to, which shows the strong association with sand lance to sandy sediment. Sand eels will most likely be negatively affected by the radical change in habitat when hundreds of turbines and thousands of tons of rock scour protection are added around the bases and substation bases. If and when the sand eels leave, so do all the other vital species. How can it be that no HAPC, which stands for Habitat Areas of Particular Concern, are designated within New York Bight, yet summer flounder spawn in the winters on the outer continental shelf and use the areas during all 4 stages of their life cycle: egg, larval, juveniles, as well as adults. Many coastal species rely on the Chicken Canyon, Hudson Canyon during one or more of their life stages and use the Mid-Atlantic Bight lease areas as well. It seems to be a conveniently overlooked topic. A lot of what is detailed is the very basic early works of Buchanan, which is a New Jersey DEP 2010 study, was overlooked as well in the New Jersey area of interest, wind power on the outer continental shelf. I'm sure I'm out of time. Yeah, so you guys can just stop me. But I've got like multiple more pages. I don't want to take everybody's time up, but I'll submit this, and I appreciate having me here today.
Thank you, folks, for putting this together. I don't have notes. My name is Jim Hutchinson, Jr. I'm a resident of Brick Township. I'm a Jersey Shore native. I want to take you through a little bit of history real quick. At this time of night, back in the early 70s, when I was a kid, you would have been able to look off these beaches and see the lights of Russian trawlers working off of our Jersey coast. That led to the 1976 Magnuson-Stevens Act, the Magnuson-Stevens Fisheries Management and Conservation Act as we know it now. In charge of that was, at the time, the Bureau of Commercial Fisheries, which has now changed itself, and the Bureau of Commercial Fisheries is NOAA Fisheries, which sits under the Commerce Department. NOAA Fisheries is the science end of our federal government, and you've heard Greg and Jacqueline also mention NOAA as well. That's important to note because this brick wall wasn't founded until 2010. In 14 short years, BOEM has usurped the scientific responsibilities of NOAA Fisheries. BOEM is a lease person. They're the landlord. And BOEM, in 14 years now, has mapped out every square inch of ocean off this coast, off of all of our coasts, to build the industrialization of these energy companies. And NOAA Fisheries stands behind them with their mouths closed. I've heard NOAA Fisheries, had it in conversations off the record, we're explaining some of these same discussions, these same issues that we're talking about, what Greg has brought up, explaining this to NOAA, looking around the room and saying, listen, we're driving this ship that hasn't been built yet. That's our scientific arm. My message to BOEM is, first of all, I would like somebody at BOEM to answer a question for me, and that is, who at BOEM runs the Instagram page Whales for Wind? Defaming, demoralizing, degenerative, dismissing. That is what the recreational and commercial fishing community has faced with this industrial offshore wind effort. My biggest concerns, picking up where Greg said, in my job, I did a lot of research in industrial offshore wind starting at about 2018. And what I found were offshore studies that were done in Denmark for a company called Danish Offshore Natural Gas, or Oil and Natural Gas. Dong is now called Ørsted. And these studies for Dong overseas at Denmark found some surprising things when I started going through the literature. And it was the most scary part of it to me, and that is EMF, electromagnetic fields. A McCann study in 2012 found that flounder were one of the few species that showed avoidance characteristics around the heavy EMF around these cables. Specifically, it noted that flounder catches decreased around the high-powered turbines in Denmark. Now, flounder, as I will tell you, is the straw that stirs the drink at the Jersey Shore. And for the recreational fishing community, which, as Greg noted, is a multi-billion-dollar industry in New Jersey. Summer flounder migrate inshore and offshore twice a year. They come inshore in May, April, May, and that is the most important, the critically most important recreational species here at the Jersey Shore. I have brought up this EMF concern with NOAA and at various meetings, and to BOEM, I sent you a 3,500 word document the last time you did one of these check boxes. That is all we are. We're a bunch of check boxes. We are a laundry list of things that have to get done. You have to consult with people. Well, I sent this information to people. Ørsted's fishery scientist, Gregory DeCellis, I asked him, is this a concern? Am I way off base? He said, no, it's a valid concern. Because if summer flounder or fluke are impacted coming inshore, then we're going to see a drop in catches. Now, what is that going to mean? Well, it goes back to Magnuson. Magnuson issues very, very strict requirements to NOAA Fisheries as the scientific agency in how they manage our fisheries. So if fluke disappear, where did they go? It's not going to be because of industrial offshore wind. They won't have the evidence to support that. We've seen that with the whale killings. What they're going to find is we as fishermen must have overfished them, so we're going to have to take lower quotas. So if fluke don't show up, my business is going to collapse. Our recreational fishing industry will collapse. And I'm not making that up, because NOAA Fisheries, in a document called Synthesis of the Science, found that EMF, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but if EMF impacts the migration of fish species and leads to lower fish populations, then recreational and commercial fishermen are going to suffer. And our entire tourism economy is going to suffer. This Synthesis of the Science report also mentioned that NOAA is going to have problems doing stock assessments around these turbines, because they need to go out and drag to take samples to know how many fish there are. In Synthesis of the Science, NOAA Fisheries also acknowledged that any impacts to their stock assessment surveys will lead to greater management precaution, meaning lower fisheries quotas and lost revenue for the recreational commercial industry. We've been trying to get this information out to the public, but the mainstream media just wants to paint us as deniers and oil industry shills. I've said this before, I haven't been paid by the oil industry since I was in college and working at the Shell station in Manahawkin, which is funny because Royal Dutch Shell is one of the companies out here. So is Ørsted, so is British Petroleum, so is Avangrid. They're all fossil fuel industry. So exactly what Greg said, these are the concerns that I have brought to the table with our fisheries, and I know my time has run out as well. I would just finish off by saying exactly what Greg had said before, and this is for BOEM. You have put your scientific agency, you have put the scientists on the back burner. They're not standing up and saying anything. We still face seasonal restrictions on various fisheries. Can I make one more point? Black sea bass is what one oil industry shill said, these wind turbines are going to be like fish factories. Well, they're not fish factories. They're not going to create fish. But they will aggregate other species like black sea bass. And when you have an aggregation with black sea bass, which are a little bit higher in the column and sometimes lower in the column, but when you have a lot of black sea bass, our recreational community is going to go out and they're going to get a lot of fish. They're going to bring them in. And that's what NOAA's telling you. And BOEM is saying, this is going to be great for you guys. However, if NOAA can't do stock assessments, it's going to lead to greater precaution. The more fish we catch, the lower our quotas are the following year. Currently, NOAA Fisheries has the black sea bass population at 200% over its rebuilt target. 200%, that's a healthy fishery. That fishery should be open right now for all of our head boats that have to come out of the water in February because there's nothing to fish for. 200% overbuilt. So with that leading precautionary management approach, if we catch more black sea bass than they can count around the turbines, we're going to have lower quotas. It's not a fish factory. NOAA Fisheries needs to be brought back to the front. BOEM needs to take a back seat. I know that they're the landlord and they're collecting millions for the federal government, but for an agency that's 14 years old to displace the scientists for the federal government and dismiss all the concerns from the coast, it's not just tragedy. This is criminal. And I count on Congressman Smith and Congressman Van Drew, who have led the charge for a Government Accountability Office review. I'm waiting with bated breath for that review to come out, because I'm confident that it's going to show what BOEM knows and what the folks at NOAA also know, that this is an environmental nightmare and an industry killer in the making. Thank you guys for putting this together.
Vincent Lepore, Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch, 3 blocks north of this hotel. Addressing Mr. BOEM, the concern of vulnerability of U.S. defense and power grid systems. Congressman Christopher Smith has an amendment to H.R. 3935, which is known as the Federal Aviation Administration Reactivization Bill. That amendment by Congressman Smith is to assess interference to offshore wind farms on air traffic and defense capability. It's passed the House. It's awaiting U.S. Senate approval. Requesting BOEM hold off all action until we see where this goes with the U.S. Senate. For BOEM to keep in mind the recent Concordia University study of January 2024 on offshore wind farms. The study took an intensive look at the cyber infrastructure of offshore wind farms. And I'm quoting this study, quote, complex hybrid communication architecture presents multiple access points of cyber attacks, end quote. This concerns VCS, VSC, HVDC connections. In short, to BOEM, neither the U.S. Department of Defense nor you, BOEM, have a handle on cyber vulnerability. The ultimate defense of this country and its power grid come first. And currently, offshore wind farms do not assist that. They are most vulnerable. Probably of all the energy, renewable sources, offshore wind farms will be the most vulnerable should they occur. To BOEM itself, with transparency, you claim with your leases and your right-of-way access and everything that you maintain transparency. Well, you don't, because you directly affected me, BOEM. 3 blocks north of here. In January 2023, I attend various governmental meetings in Long Branch as a concerned citizen. I go to the Long Branch Sewage Authority, probably the only person in the world that goes to Sewage Authority meetings. And at that meeting, through the agenda, I came across a document. The document notifying Long Branch Sewage Authority that immediately north of this hotel on the Great Lawn is a power station to be put in by Ocean Wind 2, with a cable running 12 miles out, 10 to 12 miles out to the offshore wind farm. This is the first I've learned of anything about this. Nobody in my city knew about it, the government. Congressman Pallone speaks for itself. But BOEM, you did not notify us. 4 months afterwards, in my neighborhood, BOEM, you directly affected me at my house. You had a team out there from a subcontractor taking photos of all the houses in our neighborhoods. Because on the surface, when questioned, they responded they were taking historical surveys. We ran the plates of their vehicles. BOEM. It was Tritech, a subcontractor for Orsted. They were assessing the damages, the potential damages to our houses in that neighborhood, from the pile driving for the power station here and for the cables on the seafloor. Not only did they do it in my neighborhood, they went in a 1/4 mile circumference, assessing. So I asked BOEM, where is your transparency? If you were up to good, you'd be transparent. In this particular case, the whole process was non-transparent, therefore letting me and all my neighbors know, you're up to no damn good. Straight through. I followed through with the DEP to find out the permits on this. DEP acknowledged there are permits for it. I said, how does that happen in my jurisdiction of Long Branch without me knowing it, BOEM? And they said it's a Green Acres site. The Great Lawn in front of the hotel here, just north of it, is a great Green Acres site. The state, via Governor Murphy, rammed it through. No input from anybody. BOEM, you lack transparency. You directly affected my life, the quality of my life, coastal living, offshore wind farms. No, BOEM, you got a lot more work to do, a lot more research to do, particularly on cyber, before you can get the first base on any of this. Thank you.
Number 5. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Phil Falcone in Long Branch. So people asking me about my costume, right? So this could be, technicians decommissioning well over 1,000 leaking oil rigs, not providing oil anymore except to leak it. One of BOEM's responsibilities. So I attended the virtual hearing on February 13th to ask questions of BOEM's 1,000+ experts and offer my comments on the PEIS. I thought that in a relatively short time I had pretty thoroughly scanned the entire document, which grapples with general issues for all 6 lease sites. At the virtual hearing, my questions about exploration and construction sounds were pretty thoroughly answered by a BOEM marine acoustician whose office was probably miles away. I mean, I couldn't have talked to him if it was an in-person meeting. As a reminder, you all have until February 26th to submit comments. And after that, each offshore leaseholder, as they plan their site, we can comment on that individual site's environmental impact statement. Congratulations to Clean Ocean Action on 40 years. I'm truly sad, though, that while waste dumping in the ocean off the New York-New Jersey Bight was supposedly ended with the citizen efforts 40 years ago, waste dumping has returned with a vengeance on a global scale. Fossil fuel burning emissions of CO2 and methane, greenhouse heating, acidification of the earth and the oceans, products of fossil fuels like plastics. These currently bring unfathomable levels of pollution to the oceans, globally, not just locally, and hopefully not lasting forever, but we don't know. They say that justice delayed is justice denied. So it is a shanda, a scandal, to delay the benefits of electrification to environmental justice burdened communities, particularly. The prevalence of asthma due to burning fossil fuels in homes, on the road, in factories and plants of all kinds, is killing us and our children. We all lose by delaying the lower energy costs, eventual lower energy costs and efficiencies that'll benefit transport and much more, and reliably within a 30-year predictable life cycle of electric infrastructure. I'm a boater, I'm a sailor who's been blessed to almost touch the dolphins swimming, fishing, frolicking alongside our boat. I worry that fossil fuel-driven climate change is disrupting their environment. Congressman Pallone wants to enforce speed limits on marine life-killing boat traffic, commercial and recreational. And as a boater, I would feel much safer if those laws, those speed limit laws were enforced. Finally, I've invested my professional life in science and engineering, master's in electrical engineering. Each professional organization I belong to demands the highest ethics. If I thought BOEM was slacking, I'd be the first to speak up. But right now, I trust their strategic and well-resourced science and engineering experts to expeditiously move forward with safe and responsible offshore wind development. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hara, H-A-R-A, Rolla, R-O-L-A, and I live in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. I am for clean, renewable sources of energy generation. However, I am concerned that erecting giant wind turbines in the Atlantic Ocean will have an adverse effect on the ocean ecosystem. I agree with the conservation group, Clean Ocean Action, that this offshore wind project is moving along too fast, with too many planned areas of construction of ocean turbines along the New York Bight. A smaller pilot trial project would be more prudent and give all of us a chance to assess its environmental safety and energy generating efficiency. I also agree with Clean Ocean Action that the present focus should be on alternative ways to mitigate climate change that can be done in the here and now. Building immense wind turbine farms will take several years, so implementing alternative climate-saving actions can be done while investigating the installation of ocean turbines and what their environmental impact will be. Conservation of all forms of energy and natural resources should be the priority for all citizens, governments, and businesses. Practicing conservation measures is something we can all easily do starting today. I strongly believe that we should not damage the ocean environment, which helps to absorb climate-warming carbon dioxide, to mitigate the damage done by climate change. We need to draw a line on what and how we develop the land and sea and find the best solutions for all forms of life to thrive, no matter where they live. I urge BOEM to extend the public comment period another 90 days beyond the February 26th deadline. Thank you.
Next, number 8. I can count, we just have some changes in that, if I believe.
Hi, my name is Leslie Mangold, Forked River, New Jersey. Consider myself an ocean advocate. First, thank you, Clean Ocean Action, for hosting this public hearing. I think it's very important, not only for the people who are opposed to offshore wind, but for those who are for it. And probably even more so important for them, because what they are hearing in the mainstream media is not what's accurate. And for all the experts that are here, thank you for your testimony, because I'm just here speaking from my heart. I love the ocean. I love whales, dolphins. World Whale Day was just on Sunday. And I've put in numerous comments to BOEM regarding many of these lease sites. First, I ask that you extend the comment period. And I asked BOEM that you listen to the comments and concerns of the citizens in this public hearing, and all the written comments that you've gotten. I just refer to my notes here, sorry. I hope that you consider our concerns about the detrimental effects of offshore wind turbines, substations, high voltage cables, and other associated infrastructure will have on our ocean. It's our last great open space. Our ocean that we need, our ocean that must be clean and free from industrialization. The proposed wind turbines in the ocean are a complete waste of time and money. There has not been enough research done to justify this. In the applicant's own admission, offshore wind will have little to no effect on climate change or reducing the carbon footprint. I ask that you say no to these 6 proposed lease sites and all offshore wind going forward. The last thing I'd like to add, BOEM, President Biden, Governor Murphy, the whales and dolphins sadly have been the canary in our coal mine. And I'm sorry it gets me choked up, but they are warning us of the coming dangers of what's going to happen to our ocean environment. I ask that you heed those warnings and stop offshore wind. Thank you.
Thank you. 9, please. Robert, he's going to write it in. You can write it in? Okay, thank you. Next will be number 10, Carrie Buchanan.
Good evening, Carrie Buchanan, Carrie Buchanan, from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Firstly, I would like to demand a 90-day extension to the comment period due to the sheer size of the PEIS. This push for offshore wind is nothing more than a massive experiment in our ocean and the entire marine ecosystem. In BOEM's own documents, it states, and I quote, overall, it is anticipated that there will be no collective impact on global warming as a result of offshore wind projects. So might I ask, what is the point? In fact, the proposed cooling stations will mimic climate change and kill off fish larvae, zooplankton, microorganisms, etc., by taking in cool, clean ocean water at up to 8.1 billion gallons a day and mixing it with chemicals such as bleach and discharging it back into the ocean at 86 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. thousands of miles of EMF-laden cables buried on the ocean floor, severely altering and decimating the homes of scallops, clams, lobsters, flounder, crabs, etc. In fact, there is limited to no real-world data concerning the negative impacts this will have on a now thriving ecosystem. The unprecedented uptick in whale and dolphin deaths in the past 14 months is devastating, and all while offshore wind vessels were surveying nearby. While you deny any connection between offshore wind and the deaths, no full necropsies have been released, meaning there is no evidence that there is not a connection. The incidental harassment authorization is evidence. Level B harassment refers to the act that have the potential to disturb a marine mammal stock in the wild by disrupting behavioral patterns, including but not limited to migration, breathing, nursing, breeding, feeding, or sheltering. Level A harassment means any act of annoyance, pursuit, torment that has the potential to injure a marine mammal or marine mammal stock in the wild. It is certain death, and it is an invasion of their ocean. Lastly, offshore wind and commercial fisheries cannot coexist, period. Thousands of generational jobs lost forever, and an entire ecosystem of life gone with the wind. Thank you.
Next at 11, Barbara.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you, Clean Ocean Action and Cindy Zip, for all of your very, very hard work. And we are all indebted to you as one of perhaps the only environmental organization in the United States that has been vocal to object to this technology. And that needs a round of applause, I think. My name is Barbara Skinner. I'm in Cape May, New Jersey, Brooklyn, New York, and San Francisco. I have rejuvenated Ruth Fisher's Cape group. And for those of you that have been here many years, remember Ruth Fisher of the Citizens Association for the Protection of the Environment. She worked with Governor Florio many years ago to get the New Jersey Wetlands Act passed. And she fought against all kinds of things, ocean dumping, helping the seabirds, helping to preserve the horseshoe crabs, any number of things. She was fantastic. She also helped against commercial killing of whales. But one of the things I think that is not included in a lot of the BOEM documents is the fact that this industry is not going to produce enough energy for the big cities. The wind turbine does not produce enough energy for the MTA in New York City, for the police, for the Homeland Security, for the hospitals. When wind blows 38% of the time, what are you supposed to do for the rest of the time? You have 24/7 backup with the industry that they are saying that, reducing. They're actually increasing the oil industry and gas because we need all this backup because this industry cannot do the job. Aside from, speaking, for instance, when they used to say, we speak for the trees have no tongue. We are now speaking for the whales and the dolphins who cannot get up and speak to us. I mean, this industry is also ignoring all of the data from Europe. There's a group called Scotland Against the Spin. They have all kinds of data of injuries, etc., to all these different people in the United Kingdom. And those stats are not included in the BOEM documentation. If those stats were included, their insurance cost would be astronomical because it's not affordable on any stretch. Furthermore, our food security is at risk, our national security is at risk, and I don't know how they get around our national security. I have no idea. With the increased costs for what's going on in the Ukraine and the Middle East, we cannot afford to cripple our energy industry. There's 1,000 reasons. I don't want to repeat what we've already heard from everybody else here, but Cape absolutely opposes the industrialization of our marine ecosystem. And I would question why the different groups around the country can't come together under the doctrine of public trust, because it seems to me that when the government can tell, for instance, all the fishing industries that you have to pay for men to sit on your boats and monitor what you're doing, why haven't the congressman said, you know what, we need to monitor the seabed? What's going on in the seabed? The conch fishermen are saying their traps are being played with. The scallop industry is saying that the scallops are now fleeing because of the noise. All of these marine animals are being basically tortured. And, you know, who's monitoring that, Big Brother? Why don't we have people looking at the destruction of our seabed right now along the entire coast? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 12.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy and Kari and Clean Ocean Action for holding this meeting and for all that you do for our ocean. You're truly champions for the ocean. Thank you.
Just want to know.
Thank you. My name is Tricia DeVoe. I'm a conservation biologist and the founder of Save Our Whales Now. I am here representing those without a voice, our whales. I am very concerned about the impact that the proposed offshore wind projects will have on our humpback whale populations in the New York and New Jersey waters. Over the last 20 years, from 2002 to 2022, the average number of humpback whale strandings in New Jersey is 1.47 per year. Now that suddenly changed in the last 12 months. From December of 2022 to December of 2023, there were 11 dead humpback whales off New Jersey and 10 humpback whales dying off New York waters. In New Jersey, that's a 750% increase in the number of dead whales in 1 year. Just think about that for a second. 750% increase. This major increase in the number of whale deaths doesn't just happen by accident. Many people, myself included, do not think that it's a coincidence that the whales started dying off New York and New Jersey waters when offshore wind surveying activity in our ocean was at its highest. We hear from NOAA all the time that there is, quote, no evidence that offshore wind activity has contributed to the recent uptick in whale deaths. But this really isn't a scientific response, and it's not good enough. Is there evidence that offshore wind activity is not causing these whale deaths? That is really the question we need to have answered. It's imperative that we find out what is causing this massive increase in whale deaths before any more projects are approved. Humpback whales, like all whales, are protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Because of the alarming and unprecedented increase in whale deaths, all activity that could potentially be contributing to these deaths must be halted until a full and thorough investigation can be completed. There also needs to be baseline studies of the current humpback whale populations in the New York and New Jersey waters, conducted along with a pilot study to determine the environmental impact prior to offshore wind construction. Furthermore, it's ridiculous to allow only 45 days to review and comment on the 1,429 pages of the environmental impact statement for the 6 proposed offshore wind leases. I am requesting 90 more days for the public to review and comment. Thank you very much.
Number 13, please.
Hi, my name is Maureen Schmid. I'm from Fairhaven, New Jersey, and I apologize. I didn't come here thinking I was going to say anything, and then I jotted some things down, so really nervous, so I'm sorry.
You got this.
Could you please spell your last name? Schmid, S-C-H-M-I-D. I've lived at the beach in Monmouth County for the past 24 years, and I have seen firsthand the thriving of the sea life, the cleaner water, the skate, the bunker, the dolphin, the whales. I've watched the peace and the joy and the education it has brought my children and my parents and everyday beachgoers. These oceans belong to that sea life. It belongs to that ecosystem. How can the killing of this environment be okay? I have not found an article that can prove that ocean life can survive this surveying and building, nor if it could even come back afterwards. There needs to be more study done now. It's not the boats killing the whales all of a sudden. These boats have always been there. Let's be better informed before we destroy this habitat. Please don't turn a blind eye to this. It can't be undone.
Number 14, please.
Lisa Daidone, Brigantine, New Jersey, DAIDONE. Thank you for Clean Ocean for hosting this. U.S. Government Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, BOEM, admits that U.S. offshore wind projects would by themselves probably have limited impact on global emissions and climate change, and the benefit would be negligible. The problem with offshore windmills is they're expensive. According to the Energy Information Administration, offshore wind is the most expensive energy source in our repertoire, based on the level cost of energy. The 2002 estimate for offshore wind, absent of any government subsidies, is $136 per megawatt of electricity. How are we, the people of New York and New Jersey, going to afford our electric bills? Thank you.
Douglas Crawford, Ocean City, New Jersey. Not the Maryland. The real one. Wow. It's almost sounding, thank you for putting this on. It's almost sounding like this is just a really bad idea to do offshore wind, doesn't it? It's like, how could any big organization that reviews this come to say, it's good, let's build it, right? So Phil, BOEM does a great job, right? I would agree from my study of this that their engineers do a pretty good job at ferreting out possible problems. Because historically, for Ocean Wind 1, they identified on pages 770 major problems with Ocean Wind 1. Now, I think they were a little more tired on Atlantic shores. They came up with 366. Do you think it's like half as bad? I don't think so. Where's the cost of all these major issues if they're going to be solved? How can we say that if they approved these, they approved this one's still before final, they approved a plan with 770 major issues identified with all of their little variations, not able to even improve these. Many of the charts you'll see, it says major, 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 all across all of the options that they were proposing. So no, the work is not good. We're not. This is billed as being like these projects are so thoroughly reviewed, and the public should have no concern over these. We got your back. No, I don't think so. So BOEM, for your next document, I looked through your mitigations and I see you're very weakly handing. You identify a lot of things you want to mitigate, but not. You don't really force them to be mitigated, so you're still not protecting us. There's a handful of other things over the history here that I want to call out. BOEM, you're not that interested in the contents of what's in these turbines and what is in all of the substations. So for the 7,500 megawatt plan, all of which you will be reviewing all the individual plans for, there's 25 million gallons of industrial fluids
in all of that construction that's sitting above the water, just waiting for some destruction to dump it into the water. For the 1,100 megawatt plan, that goes up to 35 million gallons. And this poster here shows what the US plan for 86 gigawatts. Now, that would be BOEM managing all those all around the country, right? And that's 117 million gallons of fluids, which if you total it up and compare it to things we're used to, that's 156 city water towers of fluids, or 21 oil tankers worth of fluids sitting out there in the ocean waiting for some kind of pollution destruction. That's not too good for clean ocean, right? Why would we put that kind of a risk out there sitting precariously over the ocean in harm's way? If we got into an armed conflict, sure to be shot up, first to take out our power, and then, wipes out our fisheries and our fish life, for how many decades. So that sorts itself out. Okay, so somebody's already talking about your policies on the takes and how that doesn't seem to be working. So I won't go into that. Visuals. This was my biggest one. I got into this in Ocean City because I had heard a year ago, BOEM didn't claim this, but others did, that you'd hardly see these turbines. You will hardly see them. They'll be so small. And they may have been back then. It might have been actually accurate, but things changed. They're now 3 times taller than they were 2 years ago, and they've brought them in closer. BOEM, you still do not, after several of these go-arounds, still do not produce images of what they'll look like to the human eye. I got into this with your visual guy. He said he's looking at it. He's still looking at it. No, just stop making wide-angle panoramic views that pushes the horizon out so that the turbines get reduced to tiny little things. The human eye, they're big. We know they're big because the turbines that will be 10 miles away, which there are several sites of that, they're taller than what we see Ocean Casino from Ocean City, and it's quite prominent on our shore, on our visual thing. So these will be a third taller than Ocean Wind, and Ocean Wind itself is already pretty big. So you fail that, maybe you can do a better job. So I asked for an extension. Everybody's asking for an extension, 90 days. How about you give us a year? How about you give us long enough until we can demonstrate to the public that you are not watching out for us? How about you give us long enough that we can prove that the killing of these dying animals are as a result of what you're allowing the builders to do? That could come. If we had any better proof than we have today, and there's pretty decent correlation today, but if we had better proof, evidence that correlates it, watch out. Because I think we'll try to take away your ability to give take authorizations. And if, okay, there's one other thing I actually want the audience to know, but I want BOEM to know too. This isn't your fault. You're given the task of working with the prospect of offshore wind. And so ahead of that, somebody decided to do offshore wind. And the cost of the project and its benefits have been shrouded in mystery, and the mystery is starting to clear, and the curtain is starting to get drawn back, and people are starting to understand the cost figures per person, per home. When we're told, and you allow a certain wind farm or a set of wind farms to be built, we're told how many homes that would serve with electricity. We're not told what it costs per home to provide that. Because that cost is on our backs. It shows up in our taxes and in our electric rates eventually. We have to pay all that back to the wind builders. We have to give them their profit. They're guaranteed. So I'll leave it at this. You can talk to me in the back if you're interested. But what it's showing is that it costs so much money per home that this would serve that for a tiny fraction, and that's the cost to build, maintain the whole lifespan. And if we add to that also the losses that we know that the seashores will come to, which includes the fisheries, includes property value losses, the loss to the shore businesses. When you add all that up, divide it by the number of homes that that's supposed to provide electricity for, it's such a huge number that you can easily come up with alternatives. Here's one that we're exploring. You could, for a tiny fraction of that cost, you could afford to put a home solar system and battery on every home and serve them better than the wind. So look forward to that coming out. So BOEM, give us time to give us more time, because we'd like to take authorizations. We'd like to take away maybe your ability to even deal with leasing land in the ocean, because it's no good.
Next up is number 16, is Rose.
Number 17 too. I'm gonna go with Gus first.
Okay.
Unable to be here.
We call that a twofer.
I have a comment from Gus Lovegren of the Fisherman's Dock Cooperative in Point Pleasant Beach. My name is Gus Lovegren. I'm the owner and captain of the fishing vessel Lily Rose and a member of the Fisherman's Dock Cooperative in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. I'm a fourth generation commercial fisherman since my family has immigrated to the United States from Sweden, where our lineage also dates back to a long line of fishermen. My comments here today not only represents myself and my business, but that of all the members of the Fisherman's Dock Cooperative as a whole. We remain vehemently opposed to all offshore wind projects, not only for the massive loss of our traditional fishing grounds, but for the massive amount of environmental destruction associated with the surveying and construction of these sites. We have been fed lies about an unusual mortality event that started in 2016 and how it's unrelated to the offshore wind activities because, quote, construction wasn't even started yet. We were fishing when surveying activities started in late 2015 and has increased dramatically from a few survey vessels occasionally surveying to dozens of survey vessels working around the clock in the past year and a half. We see our fishing grounds disturbed and our stocks leave the area as soon as the survey vessels show up. We are catching an unprecedented amount of dead clams, scallops, horseshoe crabs, and other shellfish in areas that have been surveyed. Rutgers University has even declared a hypoxic event in our waters this year, blaming global warming, but has zero mention of the onslaught of recent seismic surveying activity. We attend meetings and have our thoughts and comments ignored, only to be shown BOEM's cherry-picked data about how much we stand to lose, only to see the actual financial figures at less than 1/3 of the realistic numbers. None of these economic figures taking into the cumulative effects of the decline of the commercial fishing industry. The jobs just don't end at the boat. Dock workers, mechanics, metal fabricators, truck drivers, restaurants, and many more shoreside products we harvest. This is the last of the wild-caught, organic, sustainably harvested protein on Earth with one of the lowest carbon footprints. It astonishes me that in this day and age, with constant food insecurity issues, that we would jeopardize the harvest of some of the healthiest protein for a form of energy production that has proven itself to be unreliable, inefficient, expensive, and fraught with endless failures. Of even more concern, is offshore wind's downplay on the importance of the New York Bight that plays in Gulf Stream currents as they travel to the polar ice caps. BOEM's own documents claim that that offshore wind will have little to no effect on global warming and carbon emissions. BOEM also claims that offshore wind will have a dampening effect on the wind, reducing the wind's ability to cool sea surface temperatures. Factor this with an unknown number of substations and offshore cooling systems that will constantly be pumping chlorinated water at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, killing all phytoplankton and microorganisms that get sucked in. So now they want to destroy an ecosystem for something that not only doesn't help global warming, but actually speeds it up. For years now, the USA has what it considered the gold standard for sustainable fisheries. For years, I have released high-value fish in the name of sustainability for future generations. My father and grandfather have done the same. Our stocks have rebounded to record numbers, yet we are being told all the sacrifice was in vain because the next generation will have no grounds to fish. Our industry has always been one of inclusion where you were judged by your abilities and merit, not by your race, gender, religion, or creed. Women have become a huge part of our industry, working as captains and deckhands as well. I don't want my family's heritage to end with me. Nobody wants that type of pressure. But more so, my two daughters who dream of growing up and continuing the Lovegren legacy. Who from BOEM or any of the mega corporations is going to look them in the eye and tell them they can't? That's it from me. Now I'm going to go on to myself. I'm Rose Willis. I'm a wife of a commercial fisherman of 30 years from Point Pleasant Beach. I guess you could call me a land captain. Sorry, I have some of my feelings mixed in with my comment. I've already commented once on this, the PEIS to BOEM. Our ocean is about to become an industrialized factory forever. We're getting ready to drive hundreds of thousands of tons of steel into the ocean floor for thousands of turbines. Putting these monstrosities in Hudson Canyon, the home of hundreds of species of fish and protected marine mammals, is unthinkable. The area has a unique cold pool which attracts these marine inhabitants. The currents around the turbines are exactly what breaks down the cold pool, and ultimately, because of the wind wake effect extending for up to 60 miles past its turbine zone, we believe it'll decrease the upwelling and downwelling of the ocean and will increase the sea surface temperatures. Sites that are more than 30 nautical miles offshore that are running HVDC will require offshore cooling systems, which are mentioned in the PEIS, and if they're like those described in Sunrise Wind's documents, it's truly concerning. These cooling systems take in cool water to dissipate heat produced through the AC-DC conversion of electricity. Each offshore cooling system will discharge up to 8,100,000 gallons of seawater with chlorine residuals per day, and the temperature per documents is 86 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. What happens to all the fish larvae, phytoplankton, zooplankton, and other necessary microorganisms that end up in this warm bleach cycle? The document mentions thermal plumes. That's just one cooling system. It's not yet disclosed how many we know. It's not yet disclosed how many, but we know with the PEIS, that's at least 6 lease sites that are offshore. Many believe on a cumulative level, we're going to warm the ocean significantly. Thousands of miles of EMF laden cables, and these aren't telecom cables that people like to mention. These are high voltage electrical cables jet trenched through our ocean floor, plowing through all these ridges and ledges that provide habitat. Sickening to think of. Documents point to dead zones, 10 plus years of mass construction in an ocean ecosystem. Documents state they'll kill fish and marine life and potentially kill endangered protected marine mammals. The PEIS states severe mortality and severe injury to sea turtles. They're altering the bottom of a benthic habitat, destroying scallop and clam beds. They want to pollute an ocean environment with unnatural garbage that can't be recycled. 20-year shelf life with zero decommissioning plan. Zero pilot project, zero answers, just assumptions. The studies on the cold pool were done in the North Sea, a different environment. Are we really going to destroy our ocean based on assumptions? The silence by NGOs and environmental groups besides Clean Ocean Action is sickening. These groups fought against ocean drilling a few years ago. When did it become okay to sell our ocean? When did it become okay to destroy marine habitat? Why are they ignoring the harms that are clearly stated? All I hear is virtue signaling and spewing fantasies. They like to claim we're paid by the fossil fuel companies and have tried to make this political, none of which is true. And it's only an attempt to intimidate us and silence stakeholder concerns. Many of these sites are owned by foreign greenwashed oil companies like Dong, Shell, Equinor, and I'm sorry, BP. How can anyone claim to care about the ocean and remain silent? Any true environmentalist would ask for a pilot project reading this many negligible impacts. This is history, regardless of which way it goes. The 6 lease sites in the draft New York by PEIS are the most productive, lucrative fishing grounds for a reason. We're not only just going to destroy an ecosystem, we're going to destroy a healthy, sustainable natural resource. We're going to destroy the economy of our coastal communities. Offshore wind will decimate the commercial fishing industry as well as the recreational and for hire sector. BOEM's documents point to this particularly in the New York Bight. The fishing industry is the cultural fabric of our coastal communities, and the impact to our coastal economies will be catastrophic. The livelihoods of thousands will be lost. Thousands of small owner-operator and thousands of small businesses, family-owned businesses, not corporations, will lose everything. Documents mention job loss, income loss, and effects on tourism. It's all there if you take the time to read, and it's being ignored. They want to talk about job creation and promote jobs in underserved communities. What about the generational jobs you are taking? These aren't just 9-to-5 jobs. This is a lifestyle. It's a heritage passed down from generation to generation. Thousands of commercial fishermen will lose everything. The jobs that stem from this industry will be further lost, draining the economies of our coastal communities. We are talking billions in GDP and billions in labor. Party boats will be a thing of the past. No fish for recreational fishermen. Restaurants, the list goes on and on. People come to the shore for seafood and boating. Both will be eliminated. Cumulative impacts equals cumulative assumptions, and the negligible effects on the most productive, lucrative fishing grounds are concerning, not only within the lease sites. An area known on the charts as the mud hole has been heavily surveyed by multiple developers for export cable routes. This is an extremely lucrative fishing area for both the commercial and recreational fishermen. No cable, substations, and/or cooling systems should be placed in this area. No cable, substations, and/or cooling systems should be placed near Monsters Ledge. The cumulative impacts of these lease sites will decimate a healthy, sustainable resource and industry, and irresponsible cable placement will be catastrophic, and the economy of our coastal communities will feel the brunt of it. Food security will be a major concern. This is by far the most devastating draft I've read. According to another BOEM document, quote, overall, it is anticipated that there would be no collective impact on global warming as a result of offshore wind projects, stated in Vineyard Wind's final environmental impact statement. We have one chance with our ocean. We don't need to do this. I'm requesting an extension of the 45-day comment period. Thank you. Rant over.
Number 18 is next, please. Tricia? This is the last one I have signed up. Of course, we are have some time that if anybody wants to sign up or wants to come up and speak, we can do that. But please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Patricia Brennan. I live in Ocean. I grew up here on the Jersey Shore. And these wind turbines, well, that's just upset me to no end. I love the Jersey Shore. I love the ocean. I have a degree in environmental ed. I dedicated my life to teaching people about how to be environmental stewards. Thank you, Clean Ocean Action, for all the work that you've done here. In all the time that I've been involved with many of the anti-wind and pro-whale groups in the area, I have not found one fact that can support that there's anything good about these offshore wind turbines going in. Not one. If anybody knows of one, please educate me, because I have read environmental impact studies. And one of the main things that I would like to request from BOEM is to complete your mission statement. Your mission is to environmentally and economically manage our ocean. And by putting in these wind turbines and rushing them through without the studies on how it's affecting the marine life and the ocean and the economy, is just irresponsible. You're not meeting your mission statement. So, BOEM, I would like you to meet your mission statement and be environmentally and economically prudent with our ocean. We've only got one. If we ruin it, this is going to be the worst environmental disaster in our lifetime. You know, worse than the polar ice caps and the dinosaurs missing and all that stuff. We cannot get clean water back. So as residents, you know, that home rule bill took away our vote, but we still have our voices. We can still educate our neighbors, educate our families, our coworkers, get everybody to be pounding all our elected officials to speak up and do the right thing. That's what we need to do, because this is not only going to affect the environment, our jobs. I mean, I love going to the beach. I grew up going to the beach every day. Seabright, Long Branch, Asbury Park. I still go to the beach every day. And I don't want to not have fishermen be able to make a living. I want to be able to eat lobsters and scallops. I want to be able to go to the beach. I don't want our economy to be ruined. I don't want our environment to be ruined. So I would like BOEM to extend that period where we can comment, because I'm a speed reader and I couldn't get through those 1,500 pages. I need more time to digest this and come up with other comments and other questions. I would like you to be more transparent, because I don't think you've been. I don't like the fact that Biden and Murphy and Gupal and Pallone have taken away, signed that home rule bill and taken away our rights to have any commenting on this. You know, and we need to take that back. We have voices, let's use them. BOEM, please, meet your mission statement. It says you have to be environmentally and economically responsible with our ocean. Meet your mission statement, please.
Is there anybody else that would like to make comments on the record? This is your chance, and we have a court reporter here. It will be submitted as part of the record. Doesn't have to be, my timer broke, I can't fix it, I don't know how to change it, so, no, you couldn't, it's no pressure. This is your opportunity to speak among community members about the PEIS and your thoughts. All right. No, you have to say it. I'm sorry.
Richard Jones, Highlands, New Jersey. I wish I was a better public speaker. Once upon a time, not so long ago, on the plains of North America, there was one of Earth's great wild animal land migrations. For nearly 200,000 years, bison thrived in a range extending from upper Canada south to Mexico and as far as east as New York and Georgia. It took humans a mere 129 years, using 19th century technology, to completely and irrevocably break this migration ecosystem. Our government facilitated this ecological demise with economic incentives. Our public commons land was given away to railroads, parceled up and made private. Fence posts and barbed wire is what truly tamed the western wilderness. I had an opportunity to travel across some of this area with my brother on secondary roads last year for the whole stretch between Denver and Colorado, through Nebraska, South Dakota, to mid-Minnesota. I don't recall seeing a single unfenced tract of land. We should think long and hard before we let our government do a repeat in what is still our public commons ocean wilderness. Consider the offshore wind turbine monopoles as fence posts and the transmission lines 21st century barbed wire. Mark my words, even bigger plans are afoot. Once these spaces are parceled up, they'll be backfilled with private venture projects. To see what I'm talking about, I suggest following the links from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority Wind Institute website to groups like See Ahead. You'll see mission statements like the venture ecosystem the ocean's been waiting for. One planet, one ocean, endless possibilities. In 2018, we realized the blue economy were missing two important drivers for success: support infrastructure and access to funding. We formed See Ahead to bring together entrepreneurs, investors, industry leaders. Translation: investors and industry leaders and stakeholders need to profit from ocean is a whole lot of government subsidies, exclusive access, and us as utility customers. Whatever the ecological and economic price our government negotiates, we the people and the animals that live there will be required to foot the bill. Whale migrations will become a fond memory. Maybe they'll keep a couple sad specimens alive in an aquarium somewhere for futures bad energy policy survivors to gawk at, like bison in a corral. I wholeheartedly agree things need to be done, and rapidly. We can't expect to survive burning all the energy stored on the earth over millions of years at our current rate. Every day I cringe knowing our species seems hell-bent for its own self-destruction and taking every other living thing along with us on our journey. These offshore wind projects the equivalent of lighting our hair on fire. Instead of helping individuals become energy independent with the all-of-love, small-scale distributed generation, extreme energy conservation strategies, they're pitching incredibly expensive, all the eggs in one basket, make you feel like we're doing something centralized utility sized PR pinwheels plugged into an already incredibly wasteful, whatever generation isn't used instantly is wasted electric grid system, conveniently billed to us monthly. As far as I know, the greenhouse emissions expended to build these and install these turbines is completely left out of the EIS calculation requirements. 2,000 tons, 6-inch thick steel wall monopiles from Germany and tower assemblies from Spain, lifted and pounded in place by foreign flag vessel, gigantic ships, generator nacelles, tons more, all the geotechnical surveys, support operations completely left out. I consider that intentional deception. Maybe things aren't as green as they'd like us to believe. All proposed sources of energy should require to have cradle-to-grave calculations so we can make honest decisions. Like the scene from Apollo 13, let's work the problem, people, not make things by guessing or pretending. We need to keep the only real spaceship we'll ever have viable, Earth, with real solutions. And thank you.
I'm Jamie Steyer from Cape May Courthouse, and I'm woefully unprepared, but I have a couple thoughts for BOEM right now. I'm not going to review what everyone said because we all know. The first thing is, I don't want 90 more days. I want them to back off. I want you to stop. I don't want 90 days. I want answers. This is our court, and I am tired of stupid runaround answers when we go to BOEM meetings and they treat us like, you'll ask a question and you know what we get? We'll find out. We're going to see. We need answers. This is our court, and you should stop and prove to us that you're not harming anything. You prove to us that you're not going to hurt the fishing industry, that you're not going to put Rose's husband out of business. You prove to us that that dolphin that washed up yesterday in Avalon didn't die from hearing damage. I shouldn't have to prove that to you. You should prove that to us. We pay you. We pay your paycheck. So to everyone at BOEM, stop and prove to us that this is a good idea. And until you can do that, it should not happen. So, thank you.
Anybody who hasn't spoken that would like to step up, and then we can take a brief break and then bring people up. And then have already spoken on that.
Hey folks, Mark Sewer here. I'm from Belmar, New Jersey. And Sewer, S-U-E-R. Super without the P. It's been over a year since I got involved with this. Mother Nature woke me up and basically told me there's something rotten in Denmark. And, you know, it's true. It's true. Everything that's going on is just an experimental piece of paper with calculations on it, you know, wrecking the whole ecosystem. It's like throwing a toaster in the bathtub. I've always been an advocate for ecology and environment, and this just woke me up even more. And growing up at the Jersey Shore, I just can't stand to see this happen. To the commercial fishermen, to the recreational fishermen, to running cables in and destroying everything from the ground up, literally. You know, phytoplankton, it's food for everything that grows and develops in there and grows to be a whale. You know, just seeing over the past year the amount of mortality that's happened because of this pre-construction. They're not even building the things yet. You know, sound can do a lot of things to creatures on this planet, and you know, what happens when they start pounding these pilings in? You know, that's even worse from what I'm seeing. All the research that I've been looking at on computers and books and libraries, I get to it, and at the very end, there's 12, 15 pages of where they got their information from. Did they actually go out and do anything? No, they took somebody's report and put it into another report. Look what I got, you know? I trust the fishermen that go out every single day of their life and risk their life to bring us sustainable food, and you know, it's dangerous out there. They're out there every day. They see the ebb and flow. They see the bait fish. They see things moving in. They know the temperatures of the water, how they affect different species of fish. They know their migratory patterns. Actually, the whales come up and play with them. You know, they're out, they see a whale, well, oh, look, a fisherman. And there's so many videos that you can go on and watch, and it just shows that they're cohabitating. What's happening with these sonars, they're putting sounds in the water that they don't recognize, which I guess puts them in a panic. And sorry, it's not a direct correlation, but interferes with their migration, their, you know, everything that they live for. And maybe it causes a boat strike, but it wouldn't have happened if that noise wasn't there and they didn't recognize it. You know, it's like somebody coming up and bashing you in the side of the head, you know? I just want them to stop, basically. I don't need any extension of anything. And I'd also like to congratulate Cindy for 40 years of advocacy. I mean, you're saving the planet, you know, and we're here to help you out. So that's all I really got to say, and let's keep this battle going here. You know, we are the rock.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Mealy. I actually live in Clark, but, well, I actually heard a name earlier that is the main reason I'm here. That name was Frank Pallone. I am running against him to take over that congressional seat this year. And so I hope I will have your support for the following reasons. While I have a lot of other battles I've been fighting for the last few years now, actually, all across the state, I've been going around for major issues. The wind farms has been one for me ever since it started. I've been to, it's got to be over 40 either protests or meetings to review studies, not the ones that Murphy tries to buy, but real studies, comment periods like this. I've been showing up all the time because this really gets at me like so many other issues, just like this one gets to you guys. I've been involved with actually Save the East Coast initially, was the first group that I had some involvement with. Hey guys. And they've spoken very kindly of me, and I appreciate that. And so I also am looking to get more involved with all the other organizations. I've been to a couple for Clean Ocean Action before, but this year is my year to really follow through on this and try to complete the coastal congressional team that's fighting against this, and for the marine life, for the fishing industry, everything else going on here, for real estate values, everything is being affected negatively. So I hope you'll remember the name when you're going to vote, hopefully in the primary as well as the final, the general. But
say your name again.
It's Greg Mealy.
Spell your last name?
M-E-L-E. And yeah, I've, like I said, been fighting this thing from the beginning. I have a lot of friends in this group and more out there. Every chance I get, this is one of my top priorities. So please feel free, anytime we're getting more materials. I didn't bring some of my stuff tonight, unfortunately, but look us up. It's Mealy for America, and it's the number 4.com. And we actually were in the Senate race, so I've just come over into this race recently because there was a lack of candidates per some of the party bosses. They wanted a more spread out effort, and the shore is one of my areas that I have spent a lot of time with and care about. So I hope you'll find us, ask questions. Certainly I'll be down to a lot more events, speaking opportunities, town halls, everything. So hope you'll see me around and that we'll join up. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to speak?
Oh, great. Come on up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Presentation here.
And I want to touch just this lectern. My name is Tom Zimmerman. Just to touch this, to feel all the real that came through here. And I want real in our lives, because what we're seeing now is we are given an artificial opportunity to have some say in what goes on in our world. And it is not. It is not real. It's artificial. We think we're going to have a say, but we're not. We elect a few representatives to take care of us, and they have no interest in following a single thought that we have. There's few of them, and they have mighty power. And our problem is that this group of 75 people really is backed up by millions of other people who are just tired of beating their heads against the wall and getting nowhere because they elected the wrong people. And there's just a few men or women who are distorting the reality and our influence and what we can do in this world. We need to get rid of them. That's what we're about. And as an organization, I don't mean to say politically, I'm going to say common sense. The reality is that we need to have the interest of the greater number of people represented here. And I would love to see more folks out here, but you know what's happened? They've all experienced the lack of respect that they get at school board meetings when they vote and their vote doesn't count, when someone steals their vote and lies about the fact that it's been stolen. And on it goes. And they're discouraged, so they don't show up to say and do anything. And I think just as individuals, we have to go around and tell everyone we know what we really truly believe to be true and what we're going to do to try to change that. And stick together. Thank you for being able to touch this, because I really love the real that came through here tonight. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else that had, okay, great, come on up.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Adams. I'm from Fairhaven, New Jersey. Stephanie Adams. Sorry. I know you guys have covered a lot of ground tonight. I would encourage you all to keep doing the good work. Cindy, you're amazing. There's a lot of good research out there. What's been going on in the North Sea has been going on for quite some time now, and so there are a lot of studies that are starting to come out on the effects on microclimate, on the effects of stratification, deoxygenation, sediment deposits. There's a lot of stuff coming out, right? The research that we need, the data that we need to make more informed decisions with how we're going to approach renewable energy. The one point that I wanted to make is, it's really not to the BOEM, it's to our elected officials and the folks that are running for office. The issue stands. We need renewable energy. We know in this group that massive offshore wind farms are not the answer. Clean Ocean Action has been saying all along that this problem is not going to go away. There are other solutions. We can decrease our energy use. We can increase our solar plan. But what I would like to hear from our elected officials and folks that are running is not just, this isn't going to work. I want to hear what plan B is, because climate change isn't going away and we still need to address it. We all know that massive offshore wind farms are not the way to do it, but I want to hear, okay, we all know it's bad, what's plan B? What are we going to do? Because climate change is not going to go away. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Great. Is there anyone else that would like to say anything? Yes, come on back up. Cape May, representing Cape May City. Came a long way. Should get a couple extra minutes. Come on up here.
In following the last speaker, I just want to add something. Barbara Skinner, sorry, Cape May. SKINNER. Barbara. Thank you. With regards to statistics from Europe, I think that what needs to also be considered, again, that there's a paper that was put out by Scotland Against the Spin. The name of the paper is Turbine Accident Statistics. I quote, in February of 21, the industry publication, quote, Wind Power Engineering and Development, admitted to 865 offshore accidents during 2019. We only have 4 of these, less than 5% in the data in the government there. All right. Finally, Energy Voice published a report containing details of over 500 UK onshore wind turbine accidents in 2020. They've only listed 1%. they question where is the database of wind turbine failures where an analysis can occur regarding reliability and risk assessment. And they quote, no other energy industry works with such secrecy regarding incidents. How are you to properly analyze the economics of this technology if they're basically hiding the facts? Again, when they talk about, especially New York and New Jersey, this will power 500,000 homes in this suburb, this will power 500,000 homes in that suburb. How is it going to power Brooklyn, New York, where the population's about 3 million? New Jersey's being asked to put all this stuff, right around here. And where is that for? Oh, that's for New York, I forgot. Yeah. And Governor Hochul, you want to do the same thing Governor Murphy did, take away home rule. Yeah. So I think that, BOEM has to also recognize that with programmatic agreements, when there's new information, this information's in English. This is coming out of the UK. It's not really hard to translate. They need to be including this information in their reports. In federal law, it says stand, look, and listen. In other words, when you get new information with respect to federally subsidized projects, you are required by federal law to consider it. I don't think they've considered this. And I think that's necessary, and that would cause a delay to this project. Thank you.
I guess we'll give it a wrap unless anybody else has anything to say. So those are the email addresses for folks if you want to get back in touch with us. I can't thank those of you who traveled so far for just a simple right for being heard and being seen. It truly is shocking and frustrating, and it certainly gets us all super angry. And to BOEM, I just ask, what's so scary about facing we the people who pay your salaries to listen to our points and to listen to our concerns so that and are accountable for the decisions that you're going to make. Hear from the people whose lives you're going to affect. Hear from the people whose livelihoods. You can't hear the fish and the whales, but there's so many people who speak for them. That's not scary. That's your job. I know this isn't universally welcome, but give us more time to read these thousands of pages of documents and their support documents so that we can provide. You claim so kindly at these virtual hearings in these spaces that you care and they really want to hear from the public. Well, if you really want to hear from the public, give us a chance to validate all the things that you're claiming in these vast documents and do the homework that we need to do, because we know you're not doing your homework. So give us an opportunity. I also want to say that this is not political. This is the ocean we're talking about. For over 40 years, when we started in 1984, the ocean was the ocean dumping capital of the world. We had 8 ocean dump sites, sewage sludge, acid waste, industrial waste, all kinds of nasty stuff. There was raw sewage pouring out into the waterways. We had garbage to ankle deep on our shorelines. The ocean was puking back up onto the beach, everything that we had been dumping into it. And we all worked really, really hard to find alternatives and work together and say, what are the environmentally sound alternatives? Let's work to those. And by 2000, we ended ocean dumping. The power of the people ended ocean dumping. And these are difficult times. The ocean since is now thriving. We're seeing all these majestic animals and we're enjoying the bounty, all that she provides free. And what's the return now? Is that there's a bunch of people that want to industrialize the ocean to claim that there's going to be some green energy revolution, but the facts aren't there. We don't see them. And what this is really about is industrializing the ocean. They did it to the land, as Rick pointed out. They did it to the land. Now we've all got people on land that have backyards. There are hundreds and hundreds of renewable energy projects that have been shut down because the power of the people on land didn't want them in their backyard. So now they're taking it to the ocean because they think the ocean doesn't have, and it's nobody's backyard, but it's all our backyards, and we're fighting for that right. This would never be allowed on land. It's not allowed out in the ocean, not on our watch, not without our voices being heard. Prove it to us, as has been heard several times. Give us that pilot project if you think it's so great. Wait for the Government Accountability Office cost-benefit analysis to be done if you think it's so great. And for heaven's sakes, do an investigation on the whales. What the heck? What is the problem? Do an investigation. You haven't provided the evidence. We don't have evidence that it did, but we think it's plausible. I just want to end by saying that I often get asked, all these years, what is it that keeps you going? And it's all of you. It's the power of the people that are willing to stand up for that incredible resource out there that is just so inspiring in so many ways and just keeps on giving all that it gives for free, and all it asks is that we take care of it. And I think the job that we have to do is we've got to move from all of our voices to get more voices, and for this to become a movement that focuses on solutions. And I want to end with a couple of solutions. We talk about renewable energy. Yes, renewable energy is a part of the solution. Guess what? There's over 8,000 projects of renewable energy on land, big ones, that haven't been connected to the grid yet because they don't have the grid to connect those projects. 8,000 renewable energy projects are sitting waiting to get plugged in. How about we start there? Let's plug those in. How about we focus on the energy waste? There is methane gas just oozing from so many industrial areas, just wafting off into the air. That's just causing greenhouse gas emissions. So let's start there. Let's cap off. Let's reduce all those greenhouse gas emissions that's being wasted. Let's get our energy transmission system into the 21st century so that it's more efficient, so we're not wasting the energy that we are plugged into. There are countless ways that the billions of dollars that we, the taxpayers, are paying could actually improve the infrastructure and improve the country and improve our environment by reducing energy. We don't need to sacrifice the ocean, because I'll just conclude with, where has industrialization ever benefited the environment? Thank you so much for being here today. Get out there, keep your voices. You guys and gals are amazing. Let's keep it up. Let's keep the pressure on. Thank you very much for attending tonight. Oh.